Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to what is supposed to be an amazing series of StarCraft 2. It's time for a best of 3 of Zerg versus Terran. We're in the top right hand corner of a map called Ley Lines, playing with the blue Zerg drones. We're looking at none other than Solar's main hatchery. His opponent all the way down in the bottom left, playing right here with the red Terran as CVs. He goes by the name of Bunny. This particular series was recently played during the, I believe it's called the LowkoTV Spring Championships. A couple weeks ago at this point in time. Now, Wardy always saves up all of the replays and then he sends them over in one big file. I think this time around it was like 600 replays or something along those lines included in the pack, which is pretty ridiculous. Now, after this particular best of 3 was played, I had like 4 or 5 people immediately reaching out and mentioned that apparently this particular series is amazing. I managed to not get spoiled whatsoever, so we're gonna have a fresh look at it together. And we hopefully will be able to figure out exactly what the hype is all about. Ley Lines it is. This was played in the group stage of a tournament. So that's why it's a best of 3, generally speaking. In the later stages of a tournament, that's when you switch over to best of 5s, best of 7s, sometimes even a best of 9. Although I don't think that Wardy generally does best of 9s. Either way, this is played relatively early on in the event, but already we have 2 of the very best players going up against one another. Alrighty, so let's see. So far, everything is completely conventional. We've got ourselves a Reaper, command center right now on the low ground. I'm expecting a factory in just a moment as well. We'll probably see a Marine right here after this very first Reaper. We'll probably see a reactor onto the barracks at that point, and then well, everything else will flow from there. The norm at this point in time in StarCraft 2 is to go for a quick triple command center opener as Terran, and as Zerg, we generally see quick triple hedge. It wasn't always like that, but these days players have figured out how to be exceptionally greedy, while at the same time also not dying to stupid stuff. And not dying to stupid stuff, honestly, is one of the main skills that you have to learn as a StarCraft player. Because there is a lot of stupid stuff in this game. It's very easy to accidentally trip up and, well, immediately lose the game. I feel like some of that volatility is sometimes kind of lost on you when you... Like, I watch a ton of StarCraft, right? I haven't been playing all too much lately. Sometimes when you only watch the very best players in the world compete, you're like, oh yeah, no, these units have quite a bit of sustainability. You can actually stick... Nope. The game can be over in a heartbeat if you're not careful. Margin for error at this level is so incredibly small. But the thing is that both Bunny and Solar, they have played tens of thousands of games of Zerg versus Terran specifically. They have done the early game so many times. They've dealt with every possibility in the early game many, many times as well. And while I wouldn't say they're completely cheese-proof, the odds of winning with early game aggression are just not simply as big as they once upon a time were. Say like a decade ago, players just weren't as good as they are right now. So these days, we do tend to see more greedy strategies. And who knows, maybe at some point we'll see quick 4 hedge openers. Quadruple command center builds. I mean, that would be a little bit silly, because then you start dying to 1-base pushes again. But sometimes, yeah, you just want to mimic exactly what the pro gamers do in your own matches, and then you find out, wait a second, if I make one little slip up, that'll be game over. Now, it looks like we're gonna see a good old Banshee. Yep, on the back it is. I feel like this has lost a little bit of popularity over the last couple months. We haven't really been seeing as many. Like, this is the most stock standard opener you can go for. Triple command center, Hellion Banshee, super normal. But I feel like a lot of Terran players have been messing around a little bit lately. With, for example, Liberators. We've been seeing quick... Well, even up to like triple barracks too, after the triple command center. A little bit of variety there. But this is as normal as Terran strategies come. And likewise right here as well for the Zerg, we see Solar heavily focusing on queen production. We'll probably see at least another 1 or 2. The new patch has changed the numbers ever so slightly. Basically, the queens are now 25 minerals more expensive as of a couple months ago. Well, actually at this point it's probably like 4 months ago. Maybe even 5. When was it? I think it was late 2024. Anyways, recent patch. Completely recent patch. The recent patch right before that nerfed the queen range. Remember that? Very recent. Anyway, the recent patch before that recent patch, they were still allowed to transfuse off creep. Honestly, Queens might be the most nerfed unit in all of StarCraft history. Probably not. I would say that's probably the Void Ray. Anyway. Ooh, some nice movement here. The Queen's not quite in position. There are a bunch of Zerglings available, though, and the question is, how deep do you want to dive? When you're fighting on creep like this, yeah, it's very risky. Bunny a little indecisive, and he immediately pays the price. Loses a bunch of those early game units, and this does really slow down the early game for Terran quite a bit. Even though he hasn't really lost anything critical. Right now, the best he can hope for is creep tumor snipes. Maybe the Banshees can start harassing the mineral lines a little bit, but immediately we have Solar celebrating with a 4th hatchery. Double Evo chamber on the low ground. We've got ourselves a Baneling nest as well. Lair is already finished, so the timing right there, yep, is gonna allow him to go into that Baneling speed research. Okay. Can he get a council on this base? There is a Overseer. I think he should. If he can commit it down, it's difficult. Yeah, he would lose pretty much everything in the process, so he decides not to take that call, or not to make that call. So Solar is holding on by the skin of his teeth, but it turns out he's got very large teeth. He can easily hang in there. Okay, so +1/+1 right here for the Zerg. After Baneling speed, all of this is very conventional. But already the creep here for Solar is looking extremely solid. And I can imagine as this game progresses, it is only going to get better. He can do whatever he likes. Now, Solar in general is somebody who prefers playing a slower, more defensive game. And this is the type of match here so far that Solar is extremely good at. So he hasn't really been messed with. He's playing a big macro game. And while most Zerg players out there, they don't really enjoy playing a big macro game against Terran, he's got everything that he needs right now. We'll have to see if Bunny is the type of Terran in this particular series that doesn't want to go into late game. We have a bunch of Terran players currently in SC2 that just refuse to make ghosts. They don't really go for the double Starport Liberator production either. I mean, all of that is in the future. For now, he does force a council, but I mean, that was the 5th hatchery of the Zerg. Solar doesn't even really have the drones to be mining that, and he's probably not really even aiming for it. Ooh, Siege Tank does decide to move in here. I kind of feel that Solar can just overwhelm it. If he just A-moves, he just clears this out easy peasy. Queen's tanking a couple of the shots. Empty medevac drop, by the way. Yeah, empty medevac drop. Quote-unquote drop. Just to scare the Zerg out of position. I mean, so far, lovely control here by Bunny. Jimmy apparently has been tasked with killing a hatchery by himself. Luckily for him, though, he's dead now. It was a quick death. In the meantime, the rest of that army is also getting overwhelmed, and Bunny is just not really finding his footing in this particular match. Not really achieving a whole lot. He's still totally fine. He really needs to fire up 2-2. The rest of his army apparently got revenge for Jimmy, so that's good. There's 2-2. Very good. 2nd factory. 4th command center also has begun. So this is Bunny now settling in as well, and I like this, for a good old macro game here. Alternatively, he could make up to 8 barracks on 3 bases and just flood the map with Terran units. But when you have an early game like this, I guess we're in the mid game now, right? But when you have the first minutes of the game go kind of shakily, like you're not really making a whole lot of headroom, you're not really carving a whole lot of space, it'll be very difficult to go for an all-out assault off of 8 wrecks. I think it's way stronger when you've actually done a bunch of damage to the Zerg early on, specifically to the economy. In this instance, if he decides to go for an 8 wrecks, he would just be fighting on creep. That creep is looking real nice. Wouldn't mind seeing it spread a little bit further, though. Anyways, Hive coming up. I'm assuming we'll see a Lurker then. Very soon. Any moment now. Yep, there it is. Lurker den, so he can go into the upgrades as soon as that Hive is done. Okay. So, the first 10 minutes of this game are over. Pretty much. And this has been a relatively uneventful match so far. Both players just macroing up, taking little shots at one another, but nothing all too serious. Now, though, we're getting to the point where both players are maxed out. In StarCraft 2, you cannot go over 200 supply. Other than with some little tricks, you can maybe go up to like 205, 210 if you really try. But this is as big as armies can go. So it's about time to start trading some of those units out. Any fight that takes place off creep is way better for Terran. Creep does take about a minute or so to completely dissipate. So if Solar were to commit right here... Oh, this is a nice drop. This drop is a massive distraction. It's going to make it much more difficult here for Solar to actually keep tabs on everything. That means, yep, one of those hatcheries does go down. Here he decides to commit, though. He pulls the trigger on the entire army. I love that siege tank over here on the high ground. There is an overseer providing high ground vision, but... Okay, there is still enough Zerg available. How about that drop in the main base? Looks like they've been working on the hive for a little bit. They have killed a whole lot of the Zerglings. Mostly just a distraction, though. Mostly just there to force the Zerg into a couple of different paces at the same time. Okay. Now, though, the next weapon of choice is available for Zerg. It'll be Vipers. Blinding Cloud here is phenomenal. Parasitic Bomb on the Medivacs, also really good. Blinding Cloud basically reduces the range of units that are underneath it to 1. Meaning that they just don't get a whole lot of range to fire in, and it's a little bit tricky. Lurker Den, researching the Lurker range to research. Adrenal Glands also coming up. These are all tier 3 upgrades for Zerg. And it makes his army significantly more powerful. Bunny doing the Terran thing where they go for armor upgrades first. I don't know why, it's worse. We should always be going attack upgrades first. You should really make sure that he starts it up soon, though. He's currently very focused on trying to snipe a hatchery, and he does achieve that job. You know what? Bunny is navigating this really nicely. While Solar had all the options to go for aggression, he decided to do the Solar thing and just play the macro match instead. And it's allowing this Terran player to just do whatever they like. No Zergling run-bys really. No proper aggression at all. Little bit of pushing, fair enough. But SCVs mass repairing it will keep that siege tank alive. Now here we go again. Bunny is stuck on creep. He needs to he needs to move that army away. There's the blinding cloud on the siege tank. And this Zerg army is just going to be able to overwhelm everything. As long as the Medivacs can pick up the majority of the troops. Okay. Not bad. There is already an army up north as well, though, and there are only drones in this section. And Bunny, who's been an absolute hatchery slayer so far, is going to be able to secure another kill. How many hatcheries is that? I mean, we've had a few councils, too. I think it's closer to like 4, maybe even 5. Looks like he caught a bunch of lurkers over here. Okay. Not bad whatsoever. He does have a Ghost Academy now, so not shying away from that. Solar's next line of attack is going to be a very conventional one, too. Look at that, another one. Absolute hatchery slayer over here. Seriously. Super annoying for the Zerg. The Hive is also at low HP. Normally, that's quite a beefy target, as they do get additional HP when they go up from a hatchery to a lair to a Hive. Okay, he manages to slither away. Now, what I was trying to say, Solar's next line of attack will be Lurkers through a Nidus Worm. Oh, Parabomb. It's 120 damage. Good splitty. Lovely split right there by Bunny. Mitigating as much of that splash damage as possible. Okay. Command center over here in the top left-hand corner. Just a single Zergling. So a planetary fortress will likely finish up on it. Bunny is setting himself up really nicely. Nidus Worm is now attempted in the back of the natural... Oh, okay. Well, I think we should have probably kept those ghosts on it for a little bit longer. He feels like he needs the units at the front. Yeah, you know what? It's fine. Okay, it's gonna force one scan, but... not the end of the world. Okay. So. How many command centers are we on? We currently have 4 orbitals. New CCs are building. 2 planetaries. 1 that is not yet upgraded. Another Nidus Worm inside of the main base. Infestors coming up as well. So Solar going for that very complex late-game Zerg army control. This time around, a few more lurkers can pop out. Yeah, still though. I think they were trying to escape. This is mostly just a retreating Nidus network right now, although, if he's allowed, he will certainly pop out some new units as well. Majority of the Zerg army is still running around through the center of the map, but I gotta say, I am very impressed with Bunny's defensive gameplay. He showed some very good offense in this match so far, The early game, yeah, not ideal. Also by no means bad, though. Mid-game has looked a lot stronger, and now that we're in the late game, he is looking quite dominant indeed. His only problem is that there's still just an awful lot of Zerg to deal with. This is not a Zerg player who is not going to be able to quickly replenish. And it only takes like one Nidus Worm for this entire game to come crumbling down. And this time around, Solar is going for a more conservative position outside of the vision range. In the meantime, the Hatchery Slayer is going to continue sniping a bunch of bases if he can. +3, +2 right now, researching for Zerg. Armor upgrades coming up as well. Nidus Worm did spawn. Ooh, we have a cheeky Infestor. Oh, and we have a slow push of static defense. Keep in mind that missile turrets are detectors, so these Infestors that are tunneling underground can be seen as soon as the man in the missile turret is, well, available. I don't know where he comes from. But when the missile turret finishes, there suddenly is a man in the missile turret. Nobody knows how it works. Okay, nice little attack here. Looks like the lurkers on the right side of the map are also intercepted. I mean, that's a lot of scans, man. I think we kind of overscanned it. But he doesn't care. Scans, I mean, they only cost energy, right? He is not quite yet at like a dozen orbitals. But honestly, at this rate, we'll be there in a couple minutes. This is the Iron Bank of Terran. When you go up to about, I want to say like, yeah, 10 or so orbital commands, you practically need no SCVs. You can scan all the time, you can drop mules all the time, it's fantastic. You can make up to like maybe 12. Any more than that and it becomes a little bit oppressive too. Mostly just because there is such a finite amount of resources on the map. Command centers are not cheap. Personal cloaking coming up for the Ghost. It's the same icon as the Banshee cloaking. Yeah, there it is, look. Literally identical. It's even in the same position right here. Wait, is it identical? Yeah, it's identical. Ay, 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 ay. You'd imagine Blizzard would cook up something fresh for that. If it's the same technology, then why doesn't the Banshee pilot just share it with the Ghosts? This is not enough Banelings to really kill the Hatchery, I think, but okay. With the enough of the support right here of the Lings and the Hydras, he does quickly destroy it. Building armor is available right now for the Terran player. Jeez. Those queens died real fast. Yeah, some nice abductions here by Solar. Killing a command center is nice and all, but the thing is, right, at this point, it's kind of like the mythological Hydra, where you cut off one command center and then 3 new ones pop up. At this point, Bunny can make command centers for days. Tactical nukes, though, coming up. And obviously, he doesn't have infinite amounts of money. Planetary gets cancelled, so the command center can fly. Planetaries cannot fly. In the meantime, okay, a couple of CCs over here are forced to cancel. I think one of them was killed, so that is a full 400 minerals down the drain. Tactical nuke is coming up. Spire is building for Solar in one of the most questionable positions in the middle of a mineral line. Additional lurkers coming up too. Bunny's thinking that he needs a handful more SCVs. Not entirely sure if I agree with that, but he can do whatever he likes. And this is always a difficult base on ley lines for Zerg players to acquire. Tactical nuke. Send up towards the high ground as well. Did he cancel it? Yeah, he canceled the nuke. Already though, Zerg is going to be looking around the map, especially Solar, for his tiny little red dot that he's looking for. So we see a big visual of the tactical nuke on the map. Solar is not so lucky. Oh, dude. And some Terran players are shying away from making ghosts. Ay, ay, ay. The unit is so freaking good, man. We've seen some insane ghost value already in this game. Alright. And this match doesn't seem to be over anytime soon. Bunny finally getting rid of some of that creep that's been in this section ever since, well, it feels like at least the game began. High-sec auto-tracking coming up, +1 arrow weapons. We're going into the fusion core. And the idea of all of this is to just be building up another tactical nuke apparently, but just to be building up even more powerful units. And this is one of the problems that Zergs do tend to run into. Zerg has been maxed out as far as those units go for a while already. Terran's still improving. This tactical nuke is dealing a bit of damage. Drones have already returned back to mining. Cheeky little Zergling has decided to burrow underground, so the SCV can't build a CC in that exact same position again. Solar is trying to maneuver his army in such a way that he can always catch the Terran player off guard. Obviously, the Zerg army here is far more mobile. The reason we don't really see him transition to anything else here other than lurkers is mostly just that all of those units are countered by the Ghost. Okay, gets a kill, another CC. This is painful. I've now seen, like, maybe we have the Hatchery Slayer over here, but I've seen him lose a good number of command centers too. No cancels, a bunch of resources down the drain. I believe structures that are unfinished and then get killed don't always show up over here. It's always a bit messy. Anyway. Solar's hanging in here. He does somehow, some way, have an infestor deep behind enemy lines. Difficult for him, though, to get a fungal growth off at this point in time. Okay. +3 armor coming up for the mechanical units. +1 flyer upgrade, also finishing. Another hatchery falls. We've got ourselves the energy improvement for Medevacs, the ranged upgrade for Liberators. There's a lot of those really nice, powerful upgrades that in isolation aren't that amazing for Terran, but when you get all of them, it is extremely difficult for Zerg to stick around on this unit composition for much longer. So the reason that Solar is very heavily focused in Hydraling Bane is that this is the best unit composition to counter ghosts. As soon as the ghosts are, well, gone, he can switch into other things. But at this point, I mean, there's 15 of them. And I think that Bunny will happily continue more, or continue the production of even more. He's making a lot of command centers, though. Like, he's getting a little... we're done making CCs now. Like, we have 11 command centers here. We're making 2 more. That's it, right? Like, we're not gonna make even more command centers, right? We see this sometimes where Terrans are like, well, the map is never gonna run out! And then at some point, the map does run out. And suddenly you're sitting there with your, well, 69 command centers. And there's no money to mine. Like, there's no resources. Ooh, another good snipe. Oh, the fungal finally coming in clutch. I mean, that was the best fight that Solar was ever gonna get, fighting up towards this high ground. And I still don't think it was particularly good. Okay. So it's very likely at this point that 50% of the map at least is gonna be mined by Solar. In a full split map scenario, Terran always benefits because they are more cost efficient. If you look at the resources lost, I mean, it's not even particularly close. It is absolutely critical for Solar that his opponent does not get 50% of the total map's resources. If that ends up happening, Bunny is just going to be able to, well, slow push his way to victory. There's this expansion over here that Terran should still get, and then also, of course, this base in the top left. Solar at this point has technically got two more expansions at his opponent, and that may very well be his ultimate game plan. Don't worry too much about cost efficiency. Try to just deny those 2 extra bases that you have, that your opponent doesn't have, right? Like, try to deny those from your opponent. Maybe even consider taking it, although he's already done that once. A siege tank from the high ground can very quickly take care of it. Double Spire here coming up too, so Solar may want to go into a Brute Lord Infestor switch here eventually. Good abduction. Nice abductions again. And this base is just super hard now for Bunny to acquire. Bunny is willingly dropping his SCV count now. The idea being that he can create a larger army, just mine out this base with mules instead. But Bunny doesn't have that much money. And this is one of those moments, right, where you have so many command centers and you have so much real estate, but you have absolutely no bank. There's probably an analogy over here somewhere for life. I'm not exactly sure. But don't you just hate it when you have 69 apartment buildings, but absolutely no money in your bank account? Like, that's very relatable. No, but seriously, like, Bunny has all the CCs in the world, and he can technically get a lot of income really fast, but he's been scanning so much, and he doesn't have a ton of mules here mining, that he's actually kind of broke. Falcon still, or Falcon Solar here, he still has so much money. The traits are all extremely cost inefficient. Never has he ever got a larger army than the opponent, but he's been doing a very solid job denying all of it. Now the problem is though, since Bunny did take a very good fight there, and he has managed to push away that Zerg army, yeah, now one of those important bases here is also gonna get destroyed. And maybe the original plan was to take 50% of the map, and maybe Bunny really would like to be mining this base over here at the bottom, but what about he just takes the rest of the resources that are still up north? Another tactical nuke. Flies towards another base. We have some static defense morphing in on the high ground. The Solar is now making finally a transition towards something else. It's gonna be Brute Lord Infestor versus Nuke. Now, I don't know if Solar has any StarCraft 2 PTSD there, but in case you're wondering, has any player ever gotten nuked as far as like their entire Brute Lord? Yes, yes. Solar has lost his mass Brute Lord Infestor army on multiple occasions in very important matches. It's very uncommon at the highest level, but it is something that has occurred to this Zerg player in particular several times already. And it's the type of game that fans of the match, like myself, never shut up about. Ooh, some lovely fungals there. Gonna make it difficult for those ghosts to retreat. With enough ghosts, yeah, you can actually put in a lot of work. There are a bunch of corruptors in the air left over too, so the Vikings at the very least have something to be targeting down. Queens go away from injecting their hatcheries to now transfusing those big flyers instead. A couple Thors are available. It's the first time we see Thors in this game, and they're immediately fully upgraded. This is good though here by Bunny. Like, he's taken this base over here now and secured it successfully. This expansion is going to be nearly impossible for Solar to continue mining. I think likewise, this base over here at the bottom is pretty much impossible. Solar apparently has decided to just long distance mine one of the gas geysers. And when you look at his gas bank, well, I guess it is pretty apparent as to why. Maybe we should saturate these two gases though. Because he still has a little bit of mining to do over there. Okay. This is, by the way, game 1 in a best of 3, so looks to me like we'll be here for a while. A little late game Thor drop. Yeah. Maybe sending nukes down these gas geysers is not that bad. I mean, it's 100 gas to destroy 2 structures that only cost minerals. But if you can deny your opponent of a potential 100 gas mining in that amount of time, I mean, maybe it's a, you know, maybe it's a worthwhile trade. The math gets very confusing, but okay. Now we're getting into the stage of a StarCraft match, though, where the amount of mineral fields available is rapidly shrinking. So the amount of minerals in total goes down very quickly. And when the worker count is this high, you may want to start reducing it. For most of the match, StarCraft players try to build up their economy and deny the eco from the opponent. This is one of those moments where maybe it's time to get rid of some of them. A beautiful fungal growth over there again, though. Those fungals from the low ground here are absolutely, well, they're damaging Bunny's army. Dude, that was an insane fight, actually. Incredible fight right there for Solar. Yep. As soon as this updates, we immediately see the army size plummeting. Bunny is making a bunch of additional factories, which is nice and all in theory, but he doesn't have that much cash. Corruptors just fly, apparently, through all of those missile turrets. They don't really care. Solar is suddenly smelling blood in the water. He doesn't have a lot of energy anymore on his Vipers, but he's decided to see if he can maybe push deep. Brute Lords, though, are slow. Generally, when you overextend with Brute Lords, it's a one-way trip. They're not going to be able to go home. Still, though, he's in a position right now that is incredibly annoying for Bunny. He decides to... this is almost like taunting him, right? He decides to morph in an additional 6 brutes on the other side of the map. Thor's here desperately trying to work with what they've got. Another blinding cloud apparently available. Snipes coming in from the south. Liberators coming in from the north. Thor's coming in from the natural. Is this an overextension here from Solar? Zerglings are trying to just hurt whatever they can fight, though. The Thors are kind of derping over here at the front. No Hellbats available. Would have been lovely to see at least a couple of them. No, Solar has not overextended. What an engagement here. That was such a finicky fight. And suddenly the Brute Lords have made their way to the main base of the Terran player. This is not really where they're supposed to hang out. Another big fungal. Vikings, though, are popping out. And those Vikings are very, very critical here. Obviously, defender's advantage here is massive for Bunny. He may just let his opponent get away, though. I think at this point, Bunny will be happy just to get this Zerg player out of his face. That was expensive, but Solar is finding himself now with about a 70 supply lead. Yeah. And those fungals, man. Those fungals really changed those fights. We've seen a whole load of them, especially in this section of the map. Solar couldn't really capitalize on it earlier. But just now, when he got the repeat fungal down, I mean, life looked pretty comfortable. And those drones, they're still long distance mining over in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. I think the majority of the mineral fields, though, are depleted. Yeah, just not a lot of mining anymore available in total, but still enough to sustain this for a couple more minutes. And that's all the Brute Lords might just need. Bunny, likewise, doesn't have a lot of income. I would imagine about half of his income is right over here in this base. He still has another mining expansion as well at the bottom. Probably wishing that he now did not make those additional factories, because they're not really serving him in any way. Ooh. How many ghosts are there? 5. Okay. This is a little bit of a different flavor of mass Overseer. Rogue's been going for 50 Overseers. Solar's going for about 5. Maybe that's more conventional. Maybe that's the actual way to go. Although I'm a big fan of the mass Overseer style. I think it's a lot of fun. This is an important snipe. This command center can go nowhere. SCVs are desperately running away. But Bunny's income is absolutely down the gutter now. If we look at the income advantage, I think it's basically looked like this for the entirety of the game. The last half hour at the very least. Maybe the first 2 minutes were a little different. Anyway, yeah, Solar has been leading as far as the income advantage goes. And now that he's successfully sniped this base over here in the top left-hand corner too, and now that he's denying this expansion over here in the far bottom right, I feel like all of the signs are posting, or they're pointing rather, to a Solar 1-0 lead. This is still throwable, because obviously we have all the information here. The players do not. But Solar has played this brilliantly. That overextension could have cost him. Well, it turns out it wasn't an overextension, but that is a very difficult call to make. New command center has flown over towards the top left. We have no money anymore available for repairs. Okay, we're going back to Marines. This is when the games get very scrappy. When there's very little money available, you may as well go back to the most basic units in the game. Oh, one Blue Flame Hellbat working on some workers here, having a grand old time. Looks like a few more of these Vikings. Yep, they will get destroyed. He's been trying to see if he can kill the Brute Lords, but at this point the Brute Lord count just seems to be so oppressive. It's only 8 of them, and technically these units are all designed to kill Brute Lords, but the rest of the Zerg army is super dangerous. Those EMPs were absolutely brutal. Only a handful of units remain. The Marines from the top left-hand corner have decided to run on over in this direction too. Corruptors have nothing left to fight. The ghosts are cloaked at this point, and Jimmy and his pals decide to continue stimming forward. Maybe a little bit overly ambitious. Command center though, oh my lord, 47 confirmed kills on the planetary fortress here itself. Orbital command gets repaired back up. Bunch of Zerglings are running to the top left. Solar's thinking, where's your money coming from? Well, it can only ever be this base right over here in the top left-hand corner. What? I mean, army-wise, Bunny still has some really good stuff. It's just that if he wants to do anything with it, the fights would always take place on creep. So his best chances are just to try and secure additional bases. And I feel like this expansion over here at the bottom in particular is really, really hard. Solar has apparently had enough. He's making banelings now, like even more banelings. But banelings are extremely good, but rarely cost efficient. Especially when games get very scrappy, when Bunny can focus on microing his units here. Maybe with like a fungal growth, the banelings can get some effective trades in, but this is a costly unit, and it's not like Solar has a whole lot of minerals left over. One Brute Lord, one fungal. Well, we have a couple more fungals, actually. Another missile turret is coming up. Bunny does not want to get fungled from the high ground. Still keeping his head in the game. Solar wants to get enough money here to get another one of those hatcheries building. He's got the resources for it now, but he is very focused on trying to fight over here at the front. And the medevac picked up a couple of those units, but then was slowed down by the fungal growth. Bunch of units end up dying. Expansion over here is denied once more. How many fungals are there still? Another big one on all of those troops, and the banelings are rolling in. Hydra's now also trying to see if they can just put in as much supplemental damage as possible. A single G and then another two get cold. It's Solar who obtains the victory in game number 1. Whew! What a game! Beautiful game number 1. Game number 2. It can't possibly be any better. Right? We find ourselves on Amygdala. And honestly, this is another map where the players can play macro if they want to. Now, I have fast-forwarded through the first couple minutes, mostly just because everything is very normal. Triple hatchery opener for the Zerg. And I've got a feeling, judging by the fact that there's only a single gas geyser taken in the main base, that Terran is also gonna go for a quick triple command center opener. Generally, that's the sign. Yep, there it is. Generally, that's the sign. If you go for a delayed second Vespian gas geyser, well, then you basically have to accumulate additional minerals, and in the current meta, those extra minerals always go to a third command center. Okay. Lovely game, though, from Solar, getting so much value out of fungal growth. Honestly, a little bit too much value. Like, it's difficult to avoid all fungals, but if I have to be critical, I think a lot of them are avoidable. So you obviously have the EMP ability on the Ghost. It removes energy out of spellcasters. And while you cannot really avoid all of them, I think you can avoid at least like half. I feel like Bunny avoided basically none. He just got fungal to the face over and over and over again. One of the tricky parts, of course, of the Infestor is that they're burrowed. So they can't cast the spell from burrowed. They can use Neural Parasite from burrow, but they cannot use Fungal Growth from burrow. And in a Terran's mind, they can be anywhere. So the general thought process is to get so many orbital commands that you can just scan around your army all the freaking time, and then you can see the Infestors coming in from a mile away. Excellent option. Option B, the one we never see, but I still think is underutilized, is to just get a freaking Raven. Just get a single freaking... just get a Raven, man. I mean, you can still scan even with that thing, but at least you won't have the Infestor sneaking up on your army and fungling everything to death. I've been shouting about the Raven for about 5 years now, and nobody cares. I've talked to Terran players at the pro level about it many times, and they always say, it's kind of hard. I need to, like, get an extra control group, and, you know, it's expensive, and you need to make a starport with a tech lab, and yada, yada, yada. Look, all I'm hearing is skill issue, okay? But they're like, no, I'll just make an extra orbital. I'll just make an extra one. I'll just make 20. I'll make 69 orbitals if that's what it takes. I understand it's hard, okay, but I see the Zerg player in that previous game using all their spellcasters, and then in my mind, there is still a banger of the spellcaster available for Terran, not utilized at all. Well, anyways, we've had a interesting little early game here with Bunny marching a bunch of his troops around the map, achieving very little in the end. Yeah, late game armies in StarCraft 2 are very difficult, though. Oh, well, this is unfortunate. Ugh. Lovely attack, of course, by Solar, but he is now finding himself with a very comfortable lead. This is now one of those early games where, as a Zerg player, you can do whatever you like. We can do whatever we like. And what he likes to do is make drones, hatcheries, get tech going, spread the creep around. Hell yeah, dude. This is like a nice, lazy Sunday afternoon here for Solar. We spread some creep, we make some drones, we build some tech. What's there not to like? Well, problem is there's still a man who has units that have guns. And he gets a couple queens here, not bad. Another overlord. Dying right next to where the previous one died, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. 5th hatchery, already building here for Solar 2. So this is something Zerg players do when they're really comfy. Generally, when Zerg players are hurt, you know, when they're punched in the face one too many times, they will build their macro hatchery right over here. Yeah, right over here. The low testosterone hatchery right over here, right? That's what I like to do in my games. I built the low testosterone hatcheries in my main base. Like a coward. This is a macro hatchery on location. Big place. Big place right here by Solar. He doesn't care about it. If it dies, it dies. Who cares? We don't even need this for mining. This is just for larva. Bailing speed. Just about to finish up for Solar. We should really see 2-2 start ASAP. There it is. Yeah, Solar is so good in these games. Like, when he's cruising, it's just, you know, like, everything's flowing really nicely. There was like a 2-second delay on those upgrades. I'm expecting an infestation pit in a moment. Hydra Den has just begun. Maybe he'll stick around on Hydraling Bane at Lartech for a while. That's no, there it is. Infestation pit coming up. Now, here's the problem though with that forward expansion, right? You do end up, yeah, losing it more often than not. But he gets this in return. Ooh, good crisis management here by Bunny. Very quick pool. So far, he's not lost an SCV. He's trying to send a few of them, though, to their deaths. Maybe one? No. Maybe one. Yeah, one SCV has died in the entirety of this game so far. Only 2 drones, by the way, which is also kind of funny. Okay. Well, maybe we should have gone for the hatchery right over here in the main base instead. So the idea behind that hatch, by the way, is just for larva production. So for Zerg, you obviously have the minerals, you have the gas, but you gotta kind of view... You gotta view larva as a third resource as well. Zerglings, very cheap as far as minerals and gas go. Very cheap as far as gas goes in particular. But quite expensive when it comes to the larva production. Lurker Den now coming up. Hive is about halfway done. 2-2 has also been researching for Bunny for quite a bit. And he's now adding on command centers and all the rest of it. So this is barracks 6, 7, and 8 over here. Ooh, interesting drop. I was gonna say, dude, where are we going with that one? Can we boost? No, it's on cooldown. Can we fly? Oh my god, how did you guys not die? Not a single Hydra in the mix. Jeez Louise, Bunny. Bunny just realized he wasn't flying them anymore. He probably assumed he flew them a little bit further away, or that they would have died by now. Goes back, finds himself a hotkey, or a control group over here with like 40 supply worth of units. Kinda nice. Very easy to lose the game, by the way. Like, if you lose these 4 medevacts full of troops, I think that's pretty much game over. Now he's got the juicy golden mineral fields, though. Nom, 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 nom. There you go. These are like Terran cornflakes over there. Very nice. Ooh, look at that. Widow mines. We had not been messing around with those just yet. Don't think we saw a single one of them in the previous match. Anyways, Ghost Academy now is here. 3 additional command centers on the production tab. I ran out of coffee a while ago. Maybe I should have gotten another cup in between these games. Because this particular match over here is, yeah, it's destined to also go the distance at this rate. 4 CCs and a Ghost Academy on the production tab. This is all you really need to see over here. This is a Terran player with a plan. It may be a best of 3 in the group stages, but I gotta win it no matter what. You know what? I like it. It certainly does become a game of stamina as well, though, because that previous game was like, what, 35 minutes, 40 minutes? It was a long one. It gets pretty tricky if you play multiple of those types of games back to back now. Ultimately, Solar does shove the Terran player away from the creep here. Still has not taken that base again on the low ground. He's got into lurkers. Range for them is done. Zergling attack speed just about to finish. Liberator production also underway here for Bunny. These upgrades have been disjointed ever since the start, but he stayed on top of them, which is awesome. Ghost cloaking here also now available, and yeah, so far Bunny is showing us that he is very strong in these straight up macro games. All he really needs to change from the previous game is just not take 69 fungals to the face. Like, it's too many. This is also super annoying, though. Margin for error here is tiny, 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 but... Ooh, Vipers? Oh, nope. Bunny paying attention to those, or Solar also paying attention to those. Couple of libs over here. I don't know why we burrowed all three of them individually, but... Fair enough. Yeah, if you abduct them, they're also unsieged. Yoink. A double yoink. Just like back in college. Okay, +3/+3, researching for Solar. But so far, he gets to do whatever he likes, once again. We're stuck on Hydroling Bane Lurker for the time being. I'm expecting that, assuming this game goes the distance again, that we are gonna go, yep, into the Nidus Worm, and then eventually into a Spire, and then eventually into a second Spire. Infestors get mixed in, and then a switch to Brute Lords. From Bunny, I'm assuming we're gonna go into the Mass Ghost Liberator production here. A handful of nukes, not too many. But this is looking like a carbon copy from what we were doing in the previous game. And maybe I shouldn't be surprised, because both of these players are very good at playing these types of games. Like, it's the type of playstyle that they play basically day in and day out. There's always a lot of debate as to, like, how exactly you should play this type of late game. Everybody's got their different opinions. Some people go for 50+ Overseers. Some people are called Cyril, and they just play this game like they're a robot. And suddenly they, yeah, just kind of win. They just win the entire game long. Like, you open up the units lost tab, and you're like, oh, Cyril, you've lost... Okay, you've only lost about, yeah, 500 minerals more than the Terran. How did that happen? And we're just kind of staring at each other, wondering how. Because this is what the average game of TVZ at the pro level looks like. If you look at the Cyril games, somehow there's only a handful more losses. These abductions are really worthwhile, though. And that's the bait of this golden mineral line. Like, yeah, the golden mineral line initially is awesome. But it's just so tricky to actually mine out. And the problem is when you do mine it out, that suddenly you have a giant opening into your bases. The rocks are gonna go down. So more maneuverability right here on Amygdala. Base in the bottom right. Base in the far top left. Just like the previous match, Solar's goal is to try and mine out both of them. If you can mine out both of them, that would be huge. A couple of ghosts end up dying. Planetary Fortress is gonna just shoot away at whatever it can hit. 19 confirmed kills, not bad. Building armor. High-sec auto tracking will probably not be too far off either. That's nice for the ranged research. Solar's gonna double down, though, for now, on just the good old Hydroling Bane style. And I wonder if maybe it's time to put down the Spire. Put down the Spire, go into the... Yep, there we go. All right. Dude, thank you for making me sound good. I appreciate that, Solar. There will be some people that will accuse me of pre-watching games. Which is the biggest compliment you can give me, okay? That is, yeah, I really like that. It's like accusing me of map hacks. Or, I don't know, aimbot or something like that. Fusion core coming up here as well for Buddy. That'll be once more for the research of the energy improvement and then also the Liberator ranged. Wow. Lenny the Ling won that fight. Second armory. So we can go into the attacking upgrade as well for the libs. Dude, those abductions have been killer though. Viper's putting in so much work. Those planetaries are having a grand old time though. Yep, this one has 24 kills. This one has 19. The absolute backbone over here of the Terran army. Maybe there should be a Terran technology, you know, where you put planetary fortress on little wheels. You can just kind of roll your planetaries around the map. These are the best units Terran has, dude. Just put little wheels on them. Drive them around. Hide behind them as you attack. Here we go again. Solar has opened the floodgates. And it's working well for now. And I say for now mostly because I've seen a lot of games where Zergs kind of get carried away with this aggression. And then they stare down at their resource count and they realize they have nothing. Solar's been mining with about 90 workers for the majority of the game. So he's had some income. Yeah. There's a couple of peaks over here. Small peaks in favor of Bunny's income. But that's just mostly because he's mining gold and he's dropped a round of mules. Okay. 25 workers in the far bottom right. Looks like the golden minerals are drying up. Could have left a few more of them behind, but obviously he only has action for a little bit. Let's look at a bit of first-person view, shall we? So this is Solar's point of view while he's playing this game. Just split! Just split the units! You struggle against Widow Mines? Just split! Come on, man. Why don't you just split the units? Rather than getting your entire army blown up. Alright, a little bit of first-person view as well then. For our Terran player, who's desperately trying to get rid of these lurkers. He's been a bit of a punching bag for the majority of this game. But it's very much so the style that he's been playing so far. I think that first one's dead. And all of them are being closed off. Zerg army coming around the side as well, though. Planetaries, double planetary, by the way, in this section of the map. Send in a couple of the workers to repair. Okay, let me take control of the camera again. But again, these guys are the MVPs. 29 and 25 kills. I'm telling you guys, these are the best units that Terran has. Planetary fortresses. Ooh. This could be a little too greedy here from Solar, who's decided to morph lurkers basically on his opponent's base. Dang. Can we look at the resources lost now? Yeah. Still looking mighty fine here for Terran. Bunny getting a near 2-to-1 trade. Or 1-to-2. Anyways. Liberators are now getting targeted, though, by those corruptors. Solar still has a lot of money in the bank. He can sustain these fights for a bit more, but he's not as rich as he was a few minutes ago, so we'll probably see him taking his foot off the gas. Orbital commence. Bunny's gonna try and see if he can sit on a hatchery. It's a very private moment we get to witness here together. It's blocked. What it sounds like. I don't know what the Korean voice sounds like, but maybe build a planetary over here, right next to that hedge. See how it goes. Greater Spire. No second Spire, interestingly enough. He did go for a second Spire in the previous game. These planetaries, man, I'm telling you, 60 kills! It dies, but it had 60 kills. This guy also is not gonna live for much longer, it seems. 59, 61, 63, 67. I mean, I think that's worthwhile. He does lose a lot of position over here, though. And that hurts. Liberators working away at whatever they can hit. 14 SCVs have gone down during all of this, too. Although Bunny has command centers to replace. Yeah, he's got some mules as well to mine. Some libs here, ready to hit whatever they can. Somehow Liberators don't know how to shoot structures. They're like, no, it's absolutely impossible, sir. I can only attack units. Structures, I don't know how to do that. My targeting systems don't allow me to hit only units. Only things that can actually move. No stationary targets for me. Maybe it's the honor system, I don't know. Okay. Bunch of Marines and Marauders left over. Bunch of ghosts in the mix too. Look at Brenda and Karen and Margaret over here. Dang. They heard something about a command center, so they came out to see. In the meantime, though, there's a giant Zerg army at the bottom of the map once more. This fight is looking way better for Bunny than the previous ones. He doesn't even need the planetaries anymore now. Yo, no planetaries, no problems. Maybe they were a literal anchor, you know? Dealing all the damage, but also holding him back. Now we have to play a slightly more proactive style, and it's working out way better. No infestors available yet here for Solar. Looks like the ladies had a taste for command center, so they decided to bring in the rest of their friends as well. Bunny's mining out his final mineral fields over here at the Golden Mine, and gonna try and see if we can maybe send some of those down to the bottom. Hatchery remate in the far bottom right. If Bunny has any say in the matter, though, he's going to deny it again. A lot of Zerglings, though, do show up. There's a bunch of medevacs. He can fight this, yeah. It's just a good old fight again with Hydraling Bane going up against Marine Marauder medevac, and he does force the cancel. Here we go. The Brother Lords are nearly here. Infestor production, just a single one, but it has started. Solar evidently going into a very similar style once more. But this is going to slow everything down. And at this point, I mean, if you look at Bunny's bank, he's maxed out. He's got some resources. He can start slow pushing. Just a little bit. Bunch of Widow Mines in the mix. Bunch of Liberators in the mix. He's got his eyes set, I believe, on that expansion in the far bottom right. Now, there's the snipey boys. Oh, he killed the Infestor. There's still one available, though. Ooh. Okay, so where do we go, Bunny? Do we go into Thors? Do we go into Blue Flame Hellbats? Do we focus on Viking production instead? How much do we respect the broods? Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, that was one Infestor. Yeah, only one Infestor. That's totally fine. We can snipe him down now. Oh my god. That was an extremely nice exchange for Bunny. He'll take that any day of the week. Yeah, you need more Infestors. One Liberator at the absolute maximum range to still be able to hit that, that mineral line. Is the Spore Crawler going to be within range? Nope, it's not. Is it going to still be in range now? Yep. The Brute Lord's in the middle time, or in the meantime, though, in the middle of the map. Another hatchery kill in the far bottom right. And we have once more arrived at the very scrappy phase of a ZVT late game. Solar, though, at this point, is scraping the bottom of his piggy bank. Like, he's got some minerals still, but very little compared to Bunny. He's also no longer maxed out. And those fights are looking really good for the Terran player. I genuinely think it's these planetaries, though. Like, all jokes aside, these planetaries have been tanking and just dealing so much damage to the Zerg. They're heavily responsible for the very cost-efficient trade so far. The double planetary over here, down at the bottom of the map. Never forgetty. They've been incredibly nice. This now feels like a desperation move for Solar. He's moving through, but there's no way he's going to be able to clean all of this up. GG gets cold, and we are going to game number 3. Okay, and that means that everything comes down to Frostline. Final game in this series. I still didn't get coffee, by the way. I forgot getting coffee again. I mean, if game number 1 and 2 were any indication, I guess that game number 3 is also going to be a little bit of a longer one, huh? It'll be a little bit of a tricky one as well. Let's see. Oh, Zorkling's trying to get the wraparound. Turns out the Reaper is very slippery. I don't know what they do in that barracks, but Reapers are one of the slipperiest units in the entire game. You know what? I don't even want to know. Maybe they just like pretend what it's like to be in a spawning pool or something right before they leave. Do you think the reason that Reapers float right above the surface is so they don't get their boots dirty by the creep? Do you think the creep would slow you down? Or do you think it's you know, do you think it's like a slip and slide, you know, where you can like jump on your belly and go really far? I did that a few years ago. I remember it being really fun as a kid, and then I realized as an adult, it's really painful. Turns out I'm about probably twice the weight minimum as I used to be when I was a kid, when I, you know. Anyways, not my best decision. Do you think Reapers also sleep while, you know, they're jetpacked out of their minds? Like, do you think they just take a little nap in that suit? Look at their heads bobbing. Oh my god, I have never noticed that. Their heads are bobbing! Whoa! Their Reaper heads are bobbing. That's crazy. He's nodding the entire time. Sorry, can we disengage so we can look at the Reaper's head again? Huh. I'm assuming their legs don't really work anymore. No. And I like that here from the Terran army, dude. The fact that everybody's welcome. When your legs don't work anymore like they used to, or they never worked in the first place, you can still become a Reaper. And that's beautiful. Now, this is going to be a triple CC Hellion Banshee opener here from Bunny. Nothing all too crazy. It's a triple Hatchery opener as well from Solar. He's building some Spore Crawlers, positioning them to counter a Liberator. Okay. Yeah, Reapers are still ground units. It's a bit funky. How did it take damage? How did it take damage from Lurkers? Like, the Lurkers shoot spines out of the ground. Some of the spines are pretty short. There's actually a lot of flying units in the game. SCVs are flying units. Drones are flying units. High Templar are flying units. Archons are flying units. Sentries are flying units. Honestly, I feel like half of the units in the game don't have either like legs or wheels on the ground. Maybe more than half, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, it's gonna be a roach build here from Solar this time around. So roaches together with speed. Infestation Pit does get planted. This could be a transition towards Swarm Host if he's feeling really ambitious. Doesn't strike me as a Solar strategy at all. No, he's going melee upgrades. So this will be for a Hive. Maybe into Ultras. I mean, that is something we've been seeing a little bit as of late. Roaches are nice because they just allow you to not die to anything silly. This is good though. If you can force a council, if Bunny can get a kill on the fort, that would be huge. There is an Overseer nearby, however. Yeah, he sees it now. He needs to run. Okay. Armory inside of the main base. That is going to allow him to get the 2-2 going at the appropriate time. Hive has begun for Solar. And while he is starting off with roaches, they are very much so a stepping stone to go back to Zerglings and Banelings. But this is the I don't want to die to a siege tank push type of unit. It's the I don't want to die to anything really type of unit. But also I don't really want to max out with this unit at all. Let's see though, it's still very losable. He does have 3 Ravagers, which is perfect for the amount of corrosive balls you need to kill a siege tank. Or a Banshee. Or a Liberator. Or a Medevac. Most units, really. Let's see. He's aiming. The long arm of the... Okay, the Ravager does reach. And while one of the Ravagers died, Bunny has decided that he does not want to stick around for any longer. And this is where these Roaches and Ravagers are really scary. So you go into a hive. Bailing speed has now also begun. And I'm assuming we're going to go into an Ultra Cavern. Now, in the past, going Roaches into Ultras was kind of a garbage strategy. Mostly just because Ultras get stuck on everything. These days, Ultras can push the Roaches aside, which is a massive improvement for that particular transition. So Roaches into Ultras is not as bad as it once used to be, although it's still a bit awkward. Yep. So it is going to be an Ultra Cavern, together with Adrenal Glands. It's important to not forget +2 armor. Where's the second Engi Bay? Oh, right over here. He had it selected just now, so I think he's trying to save up some cash. Wait until he's got the resources right now. There we go. What a beautiful line here, Bunny. I think Bunny is trying to spell his name with supply depots. Like he's going to complete the B right over here in a moment on the minimap. You picked a weird spot to begin spelling your username, dude, but it's okay. So I think just seeing Roaches like this and not any additional follow-up, no Roach timing attack, none of that. I feel like even without seeing the Ultra Cavern, Bunny should know that this is very likely going to be Ultras. There it is, chitinous plating. This is the upgrade that makes Ultras actually useful. It's straight up armor. It's extremely good if you get the double upgrades going early. Because as soon as you finish up the +2 or the +3, together with the chitinous plating research, which is what this is, the Ultras become absolute monsters. Now there's a lot of counters that Terrans has. That Terrans has? Really? That Terrans have. You can go into Ghosts, you can go into Liberators, you can do a whole load of stuff. What Bunny is doing in this particular instance, though, is a 9 Rex all-in off of, well, just a handful of command centers. He's making a 4th one now, mostly because he's maxed out. So this is 9 Rex, 3 CC, and a 4th command center at 200 supply. Ultras can tear this down, but they do need their researches done. Those 3 upgrades on the right side of the production tab are absolutely critical. Bunny's going to be able to secure the kill. Now he's in a bit of an awkward spot, though, because he doesn't really want to make pure Marine against Ultras. Solar has already stolen a base over here up north in the top left-hand corner. Because very soon he is going to have all the say in this particular game. I mean, he is up to tier 3 units. Bunny is still very much so stuck. Well, in the early game, right? Like, he's got Marines here. Yeah, they're going to be well upgraded, I suppose. But Ultras are going to be extremely difficult to stop. Solar knows that it's not going to be that much of a hurry for him. Although I do think he needs to be attacking within the next minute or so for this all to make sense. Maybe he's hoping that Bunny is going to step onto the creep. A big blinding cloud to begin the engagement would be huge. Oh, this is juicy. This is juicy. Oh, that's a massive blinding cloud. Ay, 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 ay. Lings and Banes do not care because obviously they're already melee. And that was the perfect fight. I don't think you can really hope for a whole lot more than that. Beautifully played right there by Solar. Technically, he had the opportunity to attack earlier, but if he would have pushed at that point in time, he would have fought. He would have fought off creep. It said he knew that Bunny was still maxed out and would still commit to an engagement again. He can't really be sitting on Marines for all too much longer. He's trying to desperately go into Liberators now. A little awkward here, man. Those Ultras probably took the worst possible AI there that they could have ever had. If this was the Ultras without their size improvement, they would have just destroyed this army. They're so derpy, man. Alright, fair enough. Ultras slither away again. But that was still a incredible fight right there for Solar. Yeah, and he's doubling down now. This is the hero Viper. It's got 0 confirmed kills to its name, but it's responsible for about half the damage dealt. Yeah, the problem is for Bunny, he can't really make a transition towards Ghosts and Liberators until he gets at least 4 bases saturated. But with 50 SCVs, I mean, he only just now has a 4th command center. None of this really makes sense. Oh, Bailing's also pulling through. Command center over here, forced to lift off. Bunch of the Ravagers got some biles in too. Yeah, and at this point, it's kind of risky here for Bunny, right? Like, what exactly do you do? You can still make an army, but you can't really match that of the Zerg. So even though you can take these individual fights, you can win the battle, but not the war. He needs way more than that he's getting right now. So he's decided, I think, to just go for an all-in now. He's stopped remaking SCVs, and he's just trying to double down on army production. He's on 47 workers only, so his income is not that big. The problem is, Solar's creep spread has been very solid. So if Bunny wants to go for an all-in, I think Solar will more than happily welcome him onto the creep. And these fights have been going reasonably well for Bunny over the last minute or two, because most of the fights have been taking place off creep. But as soon as these fights take place on creep and Solar can set up the perfect engagement and get the speed boost as well, it is going to make all of this impossible. Still though, Bunny has a very scary army. Yeah, as far as the army size goes, he's once more matching that of the Zerg. Ultras might just be able to derp their way to a loss. You never know with them. No council on that hatchery. The queens are still spreading creep, by the way. I mean, at this point, they're bringing the creep to you. Coming to a command center near your place soon. Creep spread. Well, I don't think Bunny likes it. They're putting down so many tumors, man. Ay. The question is mostly, when does Solar pull the trigger? And you know what? This Terran army is looking mighty scary. Look at the spread on those siege tanks. There are 2 Vipers available, but one of them is low HP. The other one doesn't have the energy yet. Oh, Bunny might just be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat here. Or an Ultra out of a map. He kind of needs to rely here on the Ultras being derpy. Solar trying to set up a fight over here that is going to come in from as many different angles as possible. Siege tanks on siege at the very beginning of this fight. We do have a bunch of those blinding clouds once more going down. Here go the chompers though. And ultimately, this fight is more than good enough for Solar. He shoves this army off of his lawn, and I think with it, he obtains the victory in this best of 3 series. Valiant effort right here from Bunny. Very fun final game. Very good. Game number 1 and 2 as well, actually. This entire series has been an absolute banger. But I don't see a way out of this anymore for Bunny. GG gets gold. It is Solar who obtains the victory. 2-1.